An anime that I absolutely loved watching back in season 1, which was 12 episodes, and it came out in 2018. Just think about that. 2018, July to be exact. And July the 8th of 2025, season 2 came out. That is a hell of a distance. It's roughly 7 years, give or take. My brain can't do math, but it really highlights, one, that animes can take quite a long time to air, especially going from seasons 1 to season 2. And another reason why Grand Blue isn't one of those where it's got a high turnover is simply for the fact that it is a more mature cast. It's not a mainstream, in the public eyes, it's just a more adult cast. Of course, it's diving in alcohol, a great combination if you ask me. But that's the fun thing about it. It is just so silly, so fun. And I tried to think about it before I started the video, and I thought to myself, what is the overarching story for this? And I'm like, there is one there, but it's like sand. You know it's there, but it's kind of wishy-washy. It's not really quite there. It's not completely washed away, but there is an overarching story. And I feel like the fact that it doesn't even have the romance tag in it, because if you go to like other websites, it goes adult cast comedy slice of life, sequel, and shonen. I think shonen, Seinen. Don't ask me to pronounce words. You're not here for proper pronunciations. You're here for a complete botch job. But there's no romance in it, which I think's interesting, because I do feel like romance is a component of the story, but it's not the core aspect of it. It's like when talking about other different types of shows that have things in them and people go, oh, but it isn't in the tag. It's like, yeah, it's because it's not the core component. But I do feel like, and I haven't read the source material for Grand Blue, but I do feel like romance is something that will probably become more prevalent as the seasons or the chapters go on. If I was to ever read it, it is something that I would love to read. But it's there, but it's not the core aspect. I feel like really right now, it's just that silly day-to-day kind of crazy stuff, shenanigans, school, diving, trips, interactions between characters. That's just what Grand Blue is. It's not something with a heavy concrete story of some evil diabolical villain that needs to be defeated or some type of overarching objective. It's just kind of that chill, easygoing thing. Of course, diving in alcohol. That's the main recipe for this. But I do think there is that hint of romance. And I think it's because of the fact that it is an adult cast, there is those little more adult themes that I can't explicitly state because of YouTube reasons. But you get the hint. There's a lot of those explicit moments. Of course, guys running around nude and chicks definitely showing off some good eye candy, but you don't get the quiet goods shown, but you get some of the goods. You can let the imagination do the rest of it. That's what we have imaginations for, to fill in the gaps. And sometimes I find our imaginations are much more better than seeing it for real, because we can come up with much more wilder things. But getting back to Grand Blue itself, again, remember, July 2018, July 2025. Now, Season 3 was leaked when Season 2 came out, which was kind of funny because when you watch Season 2 and at the end of it, they're going, oh, smart people would know Season 3 is coming. So they kind of knew it got leaked and they just kind of rolled into it and went, yeah, Season 3 is coming, which I'm super happy for. Now, I don't think Season 3 is going to come out next year or 2026. I think best case scenario, 2027. Probably 2028 to play it safe, so don't get your hopes up for 2027. I'd say 2028 is where you put your expectations at, and if it comes out a little bit earlier, bonus. As I like to say, keep hope for the West, hope for the best, expect the worst kind of thing in this situation. But like I said, Grand Blue isn't a mainstream anime, and I think it's purely for the adult themes, the adult components, because it's not, a younger cast. It's not like in a high school set. Well, it's in a college setting, but you get my point, is that they're not younger, it's not young love, it's a bit more mature love. It's not all cutesy, or they hold hands, and it's like butterflies kind of thing. This is just like, hey, we're running around nude, absolutely plastered off our face. Let's go diving. Let's go do some shenanigans. But there's also that little bit of what I would refer to as drama, like those components where, as much as some stuff can be really silly and outlandish and overplayed, there are those moments like bullying, like where there's some girls out there and they're like, oh, let's try and belittle this person because we don't quite like them. It really delves into the more mature themes of how we interact with each other and how we can be quite vicious, but also can be quite quite playful with each other in a multitude of different ways. Like, for example, like I said, the more explosive kind, YouTube word can't be used, but you get my point. The flirtatious type, the hey, you want to sleep with me kind of thing, which happened in season 1, if you remember. Certain chick with some nice kazongas was like, hey, want to sleep with me? Now, I have heard some spoilers about where the story goes. Not that much, really, other than, like, some of the girls kind of like certain other characters, and there's a bit of romance development, but I kind of guessed that well before anyone kind of let it. And for all I know, those bits of information could be wrong, but I kind of gleamed as much because of the fact that season 1 had a little bit of it, but season 2 feels like there's those hints of potential romances between two particular characters, which is the main two that we all kind of know, which is in the poster for season 3, where they're sitting next to each other. I've always felt him, the main protagonist, male protagonist, and his childhood friend have always had that bit of chemistry there, that there's something there, even though he kind of refers to her as like a sister. I feel like there was always some little hint that he kind of had a bit of a crush for her, but he's probably a little bit too scared because he's like, she's probably not interested in me. I'm a loser that gets absolutely plastered. I love the sister arc. It is so funny because it's early on in season 2 where she sends this like doll kind of thing, and it's like, oh, she's really bad with technology. Has a camera in it, and she's able to like spy. I'm like, where are you getting the internet from? Like, for me, I'm like trying to think realistically, and I'm like, this is where you've got to throw realisticness out the window when it comes to these kind of animes. But I was like, okay, you've got a camera inside of a stuffed teddy bear, right? It's sitting there. It's got clearly microphones so that she can hear stuff. The shenanigans going on, and it's like, where's the Wi-Fi coming from? That's my big thing. Like, where is it getting the internet from? Is this like a mobile internet? Like, is there a phone attached to it in the back component where it's got like a SIM card and it's like connecting wireless, like always to the internet or something for like a local area? It's like, she's like MacGyver, like just tenfold. Like, she's built this really high-tech gadget to watch her brother, which they kind of ignore for a while. I kind of wonder if like later on in like season 3 it'll just randomly miraculously pop up and be like, yeah, you've been doing stuff, brother, flirting with girls again and getting plastered. She was one of the more fun characters just because his friend is always like into that sister complex kind of thing as well. And the fact that she kind of wants him to come back. There's this like family drama in there, and that's what I mean. There's some backstories, there's some overarching stories, but they're not like the most core component of it. I just thought that was one really funny part about the story. The other one was the fact that he opens his mouth and he's like, oh yeah, this chick's really hot, like she's smoking hot, and then it's just like this whole weird like chemistry between them because, oh yeah, he opened his mouth and said she was really hot, which I mean, all the chicks, all the main female characters in there are really hot. So it's like, yeah, I kind of can't blame him for finding them all attractive. And he notes on it, like, she's got really good bod. I feel like he is me, just without the alcohol, because I don't drink. Maybe I need to. I did think of an idea of getting, like, drinking during the video and, like, have a shot every time, like, something was mentioned. But I didn't really end up doing that idea. Maybe I should for a future stream or something. But I love this anime. I really do. I think it is absolute high praise. But what I was getting at is, as much as this story has many little sort of side stories going on, it's not a complete heavy, and at least for now, I do feel like as time goes on, more of a romance will solidify, more of an overarching story will solidify, but right now it's that sort of day-to-day fun kind of shenanigans going on, and then it builds. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It does it perfectly. I know some people say, well, they need some type of structure. It's like comparing to an open world game to a more structured linear style game where everything's kind of laid out and you've got a direct path. This is more of an open world where it's just kind of things going on throughout the story. And I think it's great, especially when new characters get introduced, some of the chemistries between them, some of the back and forth banters. It's so much fun. And the silliness, the crazy like sound effects, the music, the opening song, everything about this anime I absolutely love, which was why I was always begging for a season 2 when season 1 aired. And then season 2 got announced, and it was like a miracle in itself. Finally, we got an announcement after all that time. And then a season 3 got leaked, and then announced. It's just like, couldn't be happier. But at the same time, I do kind of want to read the manga as well, and see where more of this story goes, because it's going to be a while before it does officially air. But I'd like to ask you an individual question. What draw you to Granblue? Like, what is your driving factor for continuing watching this? Is it the fact that it is exactly as I described, the silly shenanigans, the day-to-day kind of craziness going on, the drinking, the diving, or is it some of the romance, or are you kind of yearning for that kind of more solidified overarching story where there feels like there's an objective at the end of it? Because as much as there isn't an objective at the end, that can sometimes feel like it just kind of draws out over and over and over again. And after maybe like 5, 6, 7 seasons, if it was to ever go that long, depending on the source material, people would feel, maybe it needs to wrap up. It's been fun, but now some of the stuff just feels kind of drawn out and it doesn't really have its spark anymore. Like, is that something you could see happening? Because I do think right now it's the shenanigans stuff, and once it's right, the story will solidify an overall objective to see an end of things, which I think will be the romance component of him and his childhood friend kind of getting together. I think it's childhood. Yeah. The other thing though too, the last thing to touch on, I'm surprised this hasn't got a dub. And I know people have the whole sub versus dub argument, but generally, in my opinion, if something gets a dub, it generally shows its popularity. And I do feel like as much as Granblue isn't like mainstream massive, it's a pretty popular series. But I also feel like things not getting dubs does hold it back from being as popular. I know that's a controversial take, but again, I have to look at the statistics and the numbers, and this is like one of those where a large amount of anime fans do watch dubs, as much as I have my issues with my dubs, and some of the bad translations and botchy, like, context being removed when it comes to certain things. And I don't speak fluent Japanese, so if I notice it, well then, and my bad English as well, then clearly you're doing something bad. But it's one of those where I was like surprised, because it's like Cafe Maid Terrace as well. Like these two, I kind of feel like they're popular enough that they could get a dub, and if it got a dub, it would make it more mainstream. Not mainstream in the sense of like a Showman or My Hero Academia or One Piece, but a bit more up on the higher tier where people would probably consume it more, and it would have maybe encouraged a sequel sooner. But either way, doesn't really matter. We're getting another sequel anyway. But it was something that I noted in my mind. I was like surprised more than anything. It's not like I really cared in the end because I could watch it subbed. It doesn't change anything. But it was one of those where I was surprised. I was like, this hasn't got a dub. I wonder why. Is it just too mature and not big enough for, say, like Crunchyroll to go out of their way to want to license it? Because if it gets dubbed, then it gets a physical release as well. And that's the thing, Crunchyroll won't ever sell a physical copy of something if there isn't a dub for it, because it just won't sell, which kind of sucks. Which is why you go online and you purchase the raw version from Japan, hoping that it also comes with the sub. That's what you do. So again, love to know your thoughts in the comment section down below. What do you love about Granblue? Because this is just one of those where I just, there's no real concrete, specific, overarching story component to it. It's just silly. It's just fun. It's like, reminds me a little bit of Defrag, but more for an older audience. It's like if you want something a little bit more younger school setting, like, you know, a high school setting, then you go Defrag, where it's silly stuff. It's not got alcohol, but it's got games, nerds, doing crazy stuff, crazy shenanigans, crazy back and forth moments between characters. And then if you want that more mature version, then you've got Granblue. I know that's a bit of a weird parallel, but when I think about the crazy shenanigans and the randomness between the interactions, I think of those two as parallels in the sense of like a more younger audience and an older audience. And I think they're both really good series. It's just Defrag doesn't have a sequel, but it does have a manga that's still ongoing. So again, if you want something a bit more different, that's a bit, doesn't have the alcohol but has the gaming component, not the diving, then definitely consider Defrag. I absolutely love it. But again, if you like this video, hit the like, subscribe, and I'll see you beautiful nerds in the next video.